I'm living here in Satterson, County Leitrim, just outside of Mohill, 3 miles outside of Mohill. My background is I'm a farmer and natural healer. You look at here, this is the homestead down here, where we were all reared. Now my son has moved back from Dublin and he's renovated this house. This is where we were born. Our family has been here since the early 1800s. Satterson would be the home, the hereditary home or ancestral home of the Wrens since the mid-1800s. The farming would have been predominantly sucklers. There'd be a sow at the house in the early days, and the bonavs and the products from that was the housekeeping money. Now, there we go. Good girl. Good girl. My father died when he was 57 in 1977. The family is a family of 7 boys. These 2 are in for having calves. They're the docility is great. They're a good breed for this part of the world. They're easy done and very quiet and easy going. There was 3 lads at home. The rest of my brothers had 3 was in Manchester and 1 was gone to Dublin at that time. And then gradually, as the sons moved out and married, it ended up that being the youngest child of the family, the succession line went to me in relation to the farm. It was hard land to farm, heavy waterlogged clay type soil, but they evolved over the years to how to do it well, how to manage well on bad ground. I looked around at the continental breeds. I looked at the type of land we had, and I'm not anyway being disrespectful to the continental breed of cattle, but the weight, size and dynamic of these animals weren't suiting my plot, they weren't suiting my land type. So in 2014 we started a pedigree Hereford herd. You'd be very conscious of poaching ground, so that basically means cutting it up. And it's all weather climatic control, because if it starts to get too wet, you end up in a situation that you have to pull them in. And our winters are becoming longer and longer. Sometimes they're going in October, they're not coming out until probably 1st of May, maybe 1st, 2nd week in May. This year it was well into May because spring was very late and there was lots of issues with just grass growth and soil, ground standing quality. You know that the ground was that bit tender. So the spring this year was tough enough, but in fairness the summer made up for it. It was a good enough summer. There wouldn't be any fertiliser, very, very little over the last 30 years, the amount of fertiliser that would have gone of any of these. So I suppose you have your different red clovers, and again in contrast to that you have your rushes as well, buttercups. So that was it. We would never have seen farming as a business. We would see it as a way of life. We would see it as your ancestral ownership of the land to bring it to the next generation. It's now becoming a business because the overheads are so extreme, and what was once a simple thing now has become something that could actually bankrupt you if you didn't run it in some form of shape or some model of financial turnover. So I suppose we were farming about 35 acres. So we built that up to around 45, 50 acres. And it's a full grass-fed farm in the sense that it's all silage, hay, traditional hay meadow silage. It's a suckler farm. So basically it's all about producing suckler calves. So our production level is that we all the bull calves go to the dairy, are sold out to the dairy sector. They're kept to 2-year-olds, and they are then sold on to as pedigree Hereford bulls to the dairy sector. The heifers are retained as replacements, and then we cull off whatever isn't producing what they should. The effect of the EU was that it gave us a handout. That might be the wrong way of putting it, but it gave us a leg up, and that was absolutely a game changer with the whole dynamic of farming. The EU was a great benefit to the likes of Leitrim and these marginal land areas, because it was nearly like an off-farm income as such. You know, it was money that was there to put back into the land that was coming through from what you were interested in and what you were doing. Everything became beef, beef, beef. And it probably took ownership away from how we farmed. So it left us farming to a different tune, in other words. So we're now in a position that we've been in receipt of these funds for so long that there is that slight dependency on it. And that's what we're trying to move away from. That's what we're trying to be more sustainable on farm. That will go. That is on its way out. Now is an exciting time for everyone, because now we're looking more at the future of what we're handing on to the next generation and trying to be more sustainable. Going back to that 60s, that we're looking at what can we produce apart from beef or apart from this, looking at a wider circle. For example, my father in the early 70s would have grown strawberries. So he'd have 2 acres of strawberries here, just out on the fields in front of the house here. And that would have been grown to supply Laird's factory, the jam factory in Drumshambo. There was a little shelter belt built up. It was the first of the forestry that we would have known, just as a shelter belt to protect the strawberry plants from wind and from harshness. So here we have some of the bulbs for next spring for sale. This is a bedded system. We don't do any slats. This is a bedded system here that is usually a byproduct from the mushroom industry. So we try and use mushroom compost as much as we can, because the sustainability with using peat from the bogs is a thing of the past. So we try and acquire as much of the byproduct from the mushroom people and use it as a bedding. So it replicates the natural environment. So you can just see they're sitting out there the same as if they're in a field or on the high bank. I see that our group that we're involved with at the moment here, the Leitrim Sustainable Agricultural Group, with the beauty of that group is that it's not government led. We're doing it for ourselves. This is a Leitrim thing under the stewardship of Leitrim County Council, which knows exactly what Leitrim is about. So our new dynamic here with this group is firstly looking at water quality. We look at the dynamic of the land in relation to what it's about in relation to the habitat element of that. And in conjunction with that, then we have a model of better farming idealisms, that we're dealing with farming in a better way and a more sustainable way. The quality of beef in this country is phenomenal. All the top chefs, all the people around the world love Irish beef. The problem that arises here is keeping people on the land. The quality of cattle is still paramount to us, but the numbers are dropping. Because the educated child that's gone to college, does the farmer have something for them to come back to? Do they want them to come back to it?
Leitrim Reservoir 1944. A successful farmer is not always the one who owns the most land or raises the biggest crops. A successful farmer is rather he who, together with his wife and children, loves the soil. He and his family must be land-minded. What does it profit a farmer if he produces big crops, but his family be dissatisfied with rural life? There's more to farming than just making money.
There's more to this than the whole element of the 6 pieces of silver, as they say. There's a life, there's a community, there's a want, and it's if it can stand alone, it doesn't have to obviously. And now I'm probably shooting myself in the foot here, but it doesn't have to make an amazing profit. It has to be able to wash its face. It has to be able to sustain itself, and then we can move it on. We can reinvent ourselves. We can go back sowing the strawberries. We can go back doing what it makes to produce a fund or money from the land, and it's just, again, beef is one element of it, but the point is that you'll get a situation that I'm sure we have to adapt other elements. That's the future of what's going on. We have to be able to adapt and go back to where we were in 1950, 1960. And that's what our group is willing to do.
Leitrim Observer 1913. The essential things. Whatever changes may modify rural life, the success of agriculture must depend on the maintenance of the fertility of the land and the intelligence, skill and knowledge of the men who cultivate it.
I feel a great optimism for the future, because I feel that the new generation people coming on are more in tune with nature, more so than we were ever. We had the mannerisms of how to rear cattle in bad ground. We had the mannerisms in how to try and get the best of what we had. But the new generation are far more educated, they're far more astute to the needs of the environment. And that embracing of both of those are going to create an environment that we're going to have something very special.